I will not fail you, Master.
Star Wars The Force Unleashed should be out by the time you watch this video, as will our full review of the game, and I'll pop a link to that in the top pinned comment. Spoiler, it's decent. We've covered a lot of the Star Wars games recently, just normally on the channel, and it was amazing really for us to receive a message from the publisher wanting to work with us on this one. So I've picked out 10 things about the game that I think are interesting and that maybe you want to know before you buy it. My name's Mark Walker, welcome back to Switch Up. Now, what are they? Well, let's find out. First up then, what's it all about? Well, the story goes that Darth Vader has a secret apprentice whom he liberated from his family and then uses his rage and anger to train him up in the ways of the dark side. He has the unenviable nickname Star Killer. Not exactly going to win you any friends at the cantina, that one. He's an unapologetic badass, and he walks a very grey path through the game, and it has a couple of different endings. How does it perform? I was confident it was going to do well because Aspyr asked for us to do a video like this, but it does brilliantly. It runs at 60 FPS at all times. This applies to both docked and handheld, and the resolution has seen a nice bump. Now, something I didn't talk about in the review are the shadows. Shadows have also been up-resed. Anti-aliasing is minimal, and the in-game load times, as you'll see on the screen, are acceptable. There's also a shallow depth of field effect when there's an enemy moving towards you from behind the player. Motion controls for the win. Now, I know I never stop banging on about gyro controls, and in games like first-person shooters, it's almost essential if you ask me. However, I've not played many third-person action adventures that use them. The Wii U version of this game used them really well, and I was interested to see how that would carry across to the Switch, and here's how it works. You'll use the normal analog stick to move around the character on the left Joy-Con, but by thrusting it forwards, you can actually perform a force push. By holding a couple of the triggers together, you can then do other moves. One of them sees you building up the force, and then you can release it by flicking your arms out to the side, which feels awesome, but just don't do it when your wife's looking in through the window. She'll judge you, trust me. Each and every force move, of which you can unlock many, will require a combination of button presses and actual motions, such as pressing the jump button and then slamming the right Joy-Con down, which gives the actions more of a visceral feel when you feel like you're actually inputting directly into those motions. Then you've got QuickTime motions, which essentially give you a direction to flick a Joy-Con, whether the right or left. If you miss one of these, then it restarts. You essentially get kicked off and you have to whittle their health down to the level again to make it happen. And there are the moments where you'll go head to head with a force or ability, and to wrestle control of that situation, you'll have to rotate the Joy-Cons to match what's shown on screen. Then you've got the many Jedi powers. They range from the ones you probably know about, like Force Push, to maybe those you don't, like the Electrical Storm ability, and the game provides a guide on how to execute these. Now, obviously, they're probably easier if you're not using motion controls, but they don't feel nearly as good. This section, number 6, is merely called Ragdolls. Why do you need to know about Ragdolls? Well, Ragdoll physics are awesome to start with, but also they're hilarious. Picking up an enemy, choking the life out of them, throwing them in any direction, ripping a column down and launching it towards them, and even picking up one of their mounted guns and using it against them. Physics play a big part in what makes the combat so fun here. Plus, it allows for those anomalies that take place on a technical level, and to get the nerd out, because it has to come out every now and then, it's not actually 100% Ragdoll physics across this version. They incorporated some preset animations alongside mostly Ragdoll, although you'd be hard pushed to see where those take place. It's more often on the very large enemies. Location, location, location. Now, while this is certainly no holiday, you wouldn't want to be spending the entire game wandering around a Tatooine junkyard. And here, there are many different locations. You can visit Cloud City, the very famous floating city located in the atmosphere of the gas giant Bespin, or at least that's what Wikipedia tells me about it. I'm not that much of a nerd. You'll see Coruscant, Dagobah, a Death Star, Endor, Felucia, Hoth, and Camino. The locations themselves are quite varied, as you can see, and they'll be filled with their own natives, as in many different types of enemies, including these really annoying ones that I didn't realise absorb most of your lightning attack. I was wondering why they weren't dying. Handheld mode. Many of you play exclusively in handheld mode, and this is what that looks like. Now, once again, we see a return of Darth OLED, as I call my OLED, with these Joy-Cons on. All the links in the description if you're interested in those. But handheld performance is really good. Obviously, you can't use the motion controls the same way unless you sit your OLED down on the side and detach your Joy-Cons, but it still plays really well, looks good, and you've got no worries with things like text size. Everything's fully narrated, and the other text is just massive, where it's been adapted from the Wii version. Multiplayer. Multiplayer chiefly isn't online. That's what you need to know. This is a local multiplayer. You can take the Joy-Cons off the Switch, stick the Switch down on a bench, and take a Joy-Con each playing in horizontal mode and just batter each other with Jedi abilities. Or you can each do 2 Joy-Cons and use the full motion control experience, which is much more fun. There are different locations to play in, and if you can find someone that's a lot better than, well, me here playing against me, you probably have a laugh. The game's going to set you back £17.99 or your regional equivalent. Hopefully, I've taken the time to put all the prices on the screen, and it has a download size of 4 gigs. There's going to be a physical available through limited run games, but you're going to want to act fast. We all know how those go. Finally then, I thought it might be interesting for you to hear some differences from the Wii version, the one we've got here, to the Xbox. Firstly, the Xbox One ran on a completely different engine. The Wii had to be built from the ground up and was more closely based on the PS2, however it does look better than those. It has some lighting effects that weren't there, and the Switch version seems to look even better again. There are a few differences in the layout of the game and some of the stages, but also this version has the multiplayer that the Xbox version didn't have. So that's it. Hopefully a snappy list of 10 things that are important if you're thinking about picking up the game. Remember, we do have our full review, which was carried out entirely separately to this video, and a massive thanks to the publisher for working with us on this one. Remember, it is just Glenn and me. There's no big company behind the scenes, it's just us two. So thanks again to you guys as well for supporting the channel. I'll pop links to the game in the top pinned comment. You can go check it out if you want to. And if you've got any questions, just pop them down in the comments and I'll make sure to answer. And to our patrons, you guys are amazing. Thank you so much for the support you give us. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!